I was gaslighting myself essentially. So I knew what was wrong, but I didn't believe it. And so I convinced myself that I was just being needy and making myself the center of attention, essentially, which is kind of what I do. Every time that I know that I have something I need to take care of for myself, I convince myself that it's selfish for me to do so. And I went and saw Dr. Beth before we left for Idaho. She's a functional medicine doctor. She is an MD. So she has a ton of knowledge. I mean, she's incredible all across the board. I know it's pricey and it can seem like I said, I always guilt myself out of taking care of myself or spending money on the things that I really need. I feel like it's selfish. I feel like people might perceive it as a fight for attention, whatever. And I just want you to know that you are seen. I'm there, and I'm fighting through this for myself.
Hi friends, this is James and Cara, and we are Kerouacs Cruising.
We are taking you on a journey, traveling the country with our dogs and finding remote places where the dog
and us
can roam free and play while we discuss life's growths, beauty, and some struggles along the way.
We recommend pairing our episodes with our blog at kerouacscruising.com, where we organize accurate information in an easy-to-follow format, removing all of the conversational goodies.
The link for this episode's blog post is in the show notes.
We encourage you to join the conversation by commenting where you listen, engaging with us on Facebook or Instagram at Kerouacs Cruising, or email us at join@kerouacscruising.com.
In the meantime, thanks for tuning in. Sit back and enjoy the journey.
Good morning, friends. Today it is just Cara. I've been kind of going through some health stuff, and James talked a little bit about his, but he didn't I don't know, I guess go through the details of the day-to-day stuff. And I think that during these transitional times, it can be beneficial to other people to hear kind of what you're going through and what I'm going through in this example. And maybe not feel so alone or be able to use it maybe as a model. And I was trying to get some work done, and then it started raining, and we don't get very much rain here in northern Arizona, and the monsoon season had been running super late, so I wanted to sit outside and enjoy the rain, so I figured I could be productive and enjoy the rain. So you're gonna sit out here with me while I soak up this potential monsoon storm that's coming in. I'm getting a little bit of wind that's kicking up, but I haven't really heard any thunder, so we'll see if it'll be a full-on monsoon, but it's starting to rain pretty heavy. I might change location, but for now I'm gonna enjoy the wet, cold rain. So, long story. Probably about 8 years ago, James and I started kind of a health transition. It was 2017. We moved off grid. Oh, I am probably gonna go inside. We moved off grid in 2017. Oh, it's starting to get really hard. I'm gonna go inside. Are you guys coming in with me? Bringing the puppers. You coming, Bella? Norman's gonna stay out there. All right, we'll just enjoy it from the camper. So, 2017, James and I moved off grid, and really we knew we wanted to get healthier. We'd had a lot of nudges and influences encouraging us to do so. We just had a hard time actually implementing it into our daily life until we moved off grid. So that was 2017. We were super remote, didn't have a microwave, or it wasn't convenient to use the microwave anyhow. So we weren't really going out to eat so much anymore, and we weren't drive-through fast food. Just none of that was convenient anymore. So I started cooking from scratch a lot more. I had done things like HelloFresh and Sunbasket. Come on up here, Bella, if you want to. I started doing things like HelloFresh and Sunbasket, which was really helpful in teaching me how to make meals quickly. Delicious, healthy meals quickly. So that was good, training wheels for a while. We moved off grid. Getting those services wasn't convenient anymore because we didn't get mail delivered to our house, or our property. And anyway, so shortly after that, I'm trying to learn how to cook, and we're kind of stumbling through the whole off-grid experience, essentially living in a camper on land with no utilities except for what we're able to supply for ourselves. So soon after that, our James's son and our daughter-in-law comes out to visit us, and she had been working with a functional medicine doctor because she was starting to gain weight consistently, was always really tired, and regularly, pretty consistently, like, it wasn't weird for it to be once a day or multiple times a day, was just puking. And it became her way of life. She just always had puke bags on her person. She would, at the time they lived in the DC area, she would be on the subway or metro, I think they call it, and she'd be puking into these bags, on the subway train. Like, she just was all the time. It was a regular occurrence. And so she wanted to get to the bottom of it. Regular doctors told her they had no way to help her. So she ended up seeing a functional medicine doctor, and he put her on an elimination diet to try to determine if it's something in her diet that could be messing her up. And he, worked with her for some other things, but this was the big picture thing. And so while they were visiting us, I think they were here for a week, we followed her diet with her. And we were like, oh, that's not too hard. We should do the same thing, essentially try to self-diagnose ourselves. So we did an elimination diet, and in that, she ended up finding out she had, I don't know if it's an allergy or a severe sensitivity to soy. So we ended up doing some research on soy, found that, in a lot of ways isn't really that good for you. And so we discontinued eating soy, and not exclusively, but, I don't buy things with soy in them. But if I go to a restaurant and there's soy, soy oil is commonly used in cooking. But long story short, I can go on all kinds of tangents through this whole thing. I'm going to try to keep it as condensed and interesting as possible. We ended up coming across a video from Dr. Gundry, and he talked about lectins, a protein that's in a lot of plants, that the idea behind these plants creating the protein is they don't want to be eaten. And so for some people, especially people of European heritage, they have an intolerance to this protein compound. Some people can tolerate it. Some people can tolerate it most of the time. But most people that you talk to will say that after they eat tomato sauce or after they have jalapenos, they have a stomach ache, gassiness, and stomach cramping from beans, things like that. These are all signs that you are intolerant of this lectin protein. So we cut that out. And I learned that we both do, actually. His isn't as severe as mine, but a nightshade intolerance. So that's been what it is. We avoid gluten, mostly because things that have gluten tend to have carbs. And I was doing a low carb deal for a while. Keto, I lost a lot of weight doing keto. And then I went into kind of a paleo keto cycling where I was primarily just trying to eat whole natural foods that were nourishing, that, if they were going to be carbs, they were going to be complex carbs. So my body used them as efficiently as possible instead of just getting the big energy up and then that crash afterwards. And that was working really well for me. And I did have gluten every once in a while, as a treat, essentially, every, now and then. And dairy, we kind of worked back in. And I was feeling pretty good. And then in about 2023, I started gaining weight again. And I had the confidence that, all right, I'll just tighten up how I'm eating and it'll be okay. And it slowed it, but it didn't stop. And so, and this is like right around when we're launching this podcast, or really dreaming about it, I guess, essentially. I guess we weren't launching it yet. And then we had some family move up to the property, my family specifically, and that didn't end up ending well. It ended up, was very dramatic and brought up a lot of my repressed trauma. And James's repressed trauma as well, even though it was indirect for him. And it was this big fallout, and that was all right after the car accident that all of this trauma came to light. So 2023, the end of the year, ended up kind of being this big snowfall. And if you've read our chapter in Together We Rise, you got a little bit of that we it gave us some time, because now we were alone on our property. We were planning on going to Idaho at this time, and we couldn't. So we're healing physically from the accident, and came face to face with our childhood traumas that we have never contended with. Both of us, James had some confrontations in his situation that put him a little further than me, but I kind of just like put a Band-Aid on it and pretended everything was okay. Like, it's fine, it just happened and it'll be okay. And then when it, kind of came to face again, I couldn't anymore. I think the way I described it at the time is like it was just all sitting in this big glass room staring at me, waiting for me to pay attention to it. And I was walking around with blinders on. And then it finally became so much that it actually broke out of its glass container and I couldn't ignore it anymore. So in all of that, I kept continuing to gain weight, and had a big dip in energy. And I'm not somebody who's like bouncing off the walls ever. I've never been high in energy, but my energy had been consistently dropping and my weight consistently going up. And again, I tried my old stuff. I nailed it in really hard and tight and tried to wrap in, sticking to a pretty strict diet, and nothing was working. I read, I think her name is Mindy Peltz, Dr. Mindy Peltz, and she has some diet recommendations. I think her big book is Fast Like a Girl. But essentially it's eating around your hormone cycles in a way to help accentuate those cycles and prepare your body to be able to work in the best way possible. So I adopted her procedures essentially, and still it wasn't working. If anything, again, I continued to gain weight. And then we started writing this book in August of last year. So August of 2024. We started on this book. We started meeting all of these amazing healers. I had already started working with Sylvie, doing EFT to help muddle through my trauma stuff. And in working through the book, you guys have watched our interviews with Dr. Milgram and with Dr. Beth Claxton. So I started seeing Dr. Milgram help kind of align not only my body, but my energy centers. And I feel like, that's been doing a lot for me. I'm thinking a lot clearer. I have significantly less brain fog, but I knew I had a lot of hormonal issues. So one of the things I had determined when I had ended up getting to like what I felt like was the peak of my health, I had read a book by Isabella Wentz, and she is a pharmacist, and she had Hashimoto's, and it's a thyroid imbalance essentially, or a thyroid disorder. And she healed hers naturally. She says she's in remission is the way that she calls it. And I read her book, and I can't remember the exact title of it, but I'll tag it in the show notes. But it was essentially about adrenal fatigue, or there's another word for it, but I'll say adrenal fatigue because I think that's how it's most commonly known as. And so I did the procedures on adrenal fatigue because the symptoms not only added up, but the chronic stress. It was the big one. I grew up with chronic stress in a narcissistic home, a lot of abuse. And then going into the work world, really, when you think about it, when you really kind of study narcissism and then you look at society and the workplace, it's all a narcissistic environment. So trying to appease supervisors and companies and things like that really added to it. I probably lived in a high stress situation for almost 30 years. And probably until we started the podcast, frankly. So so it all added up. It made sense. So I had started doing, taking the supplements as recommended and a lot of the life practices I had adopted. But it was kind of hard to stick to long term. And I didn't have any like blood work or hard evidence. I was just kind of following my gut. And this was all before I had started, kind of studying more into inner consciousness and whatnot. So I wasn't trusting myself. I was gaslighting myself essentially. So I knew what was wrong, but I didn't believe it, and so I convinced myself that I was just being needy and making myself the center of attention essentially, which is kind of what I do. Every time that I know that I have something I need to take care of for myself, I convince myself that it's selfish for me to do so. And so circling back around, I went and saw Dr. Beth before we left for Idaho, and she did an extensive blood work panel. It was like 14 vials of blood or something, and million questions. So she's a functional medicine doctor. In case you need a refresher, she was she is an MD, OBGYN at Flagstaff Medical Center for 25 years. So she has a ton of knowledge. I mean, she's incredible all across the board, from traditional or standard medical care to functional medicine. She loves Ayurvedic medicine. It's what helped her make her transition in life to where she's at today. And so she's cut her toe in everything. So I filled out this questionnaire, did all the blood panels and everything, and then I just sat down with her. So we came home specifically for James's doctor's appointment to get his green light that he's cancer-free. And we scheduled my doctor's appointment with Dr. Beth around the same time, knock out two birds with one stone. And so I sat down with her. It was 2 hours. We went over line by line, my blood work, my questionnaire, how everything kind of relates to each other. And what it comes down to is basically my body is convinced that it's in fight or flight mode, or that it's in a survivalistic situation. And so all of my resources are essentially, and Dr. Beth, if you do watch this and I am not saying it correctly, please feel free to comment to correct. But essentially all my resources are going to survival mode instead of thriving mode. So my body is just trying to be ready to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn instead of rest and digest and growing and thriving. So my body is not digesting food well. I'm storing fat so that I have energy in order to run if I need to. So, and I think this was all triggered from the car accident and coming to face my past trauma. And that's why I saw the downhill during that time, leading up until my family moved here, because I was very anxious about how that was going to go. I losing my safe space essentially, and then the aftermath of all the drama that went down. So I'm super optimistic about it. So she's got me on a supplement regimen that is to help my hormones know that we're resting, that things are safe, everything's good, help cortisol come down and help relax my body on the chemical level. And then I'm adopting some practices to help relax myself more. Things like the other night I did a lavender aromatherapy, magnesium, what do they call them? Epsom salts, foot soak, and, body wash. We're off-grid stand-up shower, no bath. So Epsom salt kind of bath scrub or shower scrub. Just really being more focused when and noticing when my body or my mind or my heart or soul, I've got this inner go ahead, cool off, wanting to go play in the rain or sit in the rain. I'm acknowledging that a little bit more. So whatever, things of that nature. So I'm on a supplemental regimen to help calm there. I'm doing an elimination diet again to see if there's anything else that I may have missed. I did blood tests for more food sensitivities, and then a stool test for checking my GI tract to see, if I've got systematic yeast, I guess is what it's called, mold or probiotic issues. So that's another part of it. Is I was born a C-section and was not breastfed, so I didn't get any of the natural microbes that you would get in that process, and then grew up on a high sugar kind of processed food diet. We did eat, scratch cooked meals, but I would say it was a 50-50. For dinners. For lunch, it was a lot of top ramen and peanut butter and jelly. I'm sure a lot of you are with me on that, growing up on those kind of foods during the summer months or on the weekends. So, that didn't give me a good foundation. And the reason why I'm going through all this and saying all of this is because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are in the same boat, that that something's wrong. I've gone to so many doctors over the last 15 years who have told me that, I just need to lose weight. I just need to eat less. I just need to diet better. I just need to be more consistent. They're not trusting me that I say that I'm working really hard at it. I need to exercise more. It's just part of who I am. I have heteroism. I don't know. I probably didn't say it right. You guys probably have noticed it in the videos. I grow facial hair like a man. I don't have PCOS. I test negative for it. My testosterone's fine. I have no cysts. The only other symptom I have of it is the facial hair. And I knew that there was something else to it. And then in that Isabella Wentz book, she said that it could be an adrenal imbalance. And so that made sense to me. I just needed to find the right doctor. And that's what I have. I think it's DHEA is out of whack. And that's where that comes from. So that could go away with taking care of all this. But ultimately, at this point, I'm 39 years old. I'm used to it. I don't really care if it goes away or not. I just want my body to be healthy. And it's the same thing. On my way to go see Dr. Beth, I had kind of come to, I don't want to say agreement, but I guess a love for myself, to realize that the people in my life love me just the way that I am. My husband has never once, told me otherwise, or made me feel otherwise. So my weight really has come down to me and me feeling comfortable or uncomfortable. So I've come to the realization that that is a me thing, not the rest of the world. I really don't care what the rest of the world. I know there's going to be trolls on the internet. That had been one of my biggest fears of coming out here and doing the podcast and doing the video podcast, is I was scared of what people would say. People being jerks in comments, and we haven't had any of that. Not one, nothing but love. So, I come to the realization that, the weight is only a concern at this point because it's a symptom that there's possibly something wrong. And it turns out that that's the case. So I want to fix whatever is wrong, but if the weight doesn't change, that doesn't matter to me, because it doesn't matter. At this point in my life, I'm not going to keep punishing myself or being angry at myself or feeling guilty because I ate one thing or another. I really want to love my life. That's what the life we're building is. We want to love every moment of our life every day and have the most fun and be the most authentic versions of ourselves, enjoying what time we have here. So that's what I had decided, that's how it is. That's what it is. And that's how it's going to be. So again, the weight is a symptom that there's possibly something wrong. Get hopefully my hormones back in check, both my stress hormones and my female hormones. I am taking progesterone to basically, as I understand it, my body makes enough progesterone, but it's using the progesterone for stress-related activities rather than calming, healing, loving activities, which is what that hormone is supposed to, be used for in normal circumstances. The wind's kicking up a little bit. So we're hoping that giving me a flood of it with all of these additional supplements will kind of help even keel everything out, and that I'll be more normal. Plus I am perimenopausal, so it should help with that transition as well, which could be years going. So we'll see how it all goes. But I did want to let you guys know what I kind of have going on there. Again, really, because I'm hoping it inspires you. If you do not feel seen, if you know you've got something going on, but all the doctors say you're fine, your blood work comes back fine. Let me tell you a big secret with blood work, my friends. When you look at the what is your normal ranges, if you're yellow, red, green, whatever, that is the ranges of most of the people who take a blood test. So you're looking at the 90% of Americans aren't very healthy, probably more than that. I'm really just throwing a number out there based on my best guesstimate. But you're looking at the average range of most people who take that blood test. So if the average person is unhealthy, then the range that they're trying to get you in is the unhealthy range. So it should be lower, it should be higher. So I strongly recommend, I know it's pricey and it can seem like I said, I always guilt myself out of taking care of myself or spending money on the things that I really need. I feel like it's selfish. I feel like people might perceive it as a fight for attention, whatever. And I just want you to know that you are seen. I'm there, and I'm fighting through this for myself. Honestly, I probably would not have been able to go through with this if James hadn't gotten the clean bill of health, for cancer, because that's the only way I feel like I can do it. And now money's a little tight again. We spend a lot of catching up after the property sold, and so I'm feeling like it's selfish, once again, because I don't feel like I should be spending the money on my health, but I have to, and that's where I'm at. I have to. I'm almost 40 years old. If I don't get a handle on it now, when am I? And how much worse is it going to get? And how much more difficult is it going to get? And how much more expensive is it going to get? So if you feel the way that I feel, you've been talking to conventional doctors and they keep telling you you're fine, just lose weight, exercise more, eat better. Fuck a salad every day of your life. Fuck that shit. Go find a doctor who will listen to you, who will ask you about your medical history before, ask you about every detail that could possibly be related to health, because something you might think is normal might not be. And so you really need that deep evaluation, asking you about your childhood history, all of these different things that could affect. Science proves that trauma affects your bodily functions. Science proves that not having a proper start as far as the gut microbiome and all those microbials when you are first born will affect you through it into the future if it hasn't been addressed. So I just want to encourage you to go find that help. Go find a functional medicine doctor, a naturopath, somebody who thinks outside the box, detox specialist, somebody different, somebody who you're unfortunately going to have to put on that credit card or pay cash for, and because your medical insurance is not going to cover it. But I promise you it's worth it. I've never felt more seen. I've never felt more understood, and I've never felt more optimistic about my health. So I'll keep you guys up to date as things are going. I'm actually just officially starting my elimination diet today, starting early morning walks, drinking warm water in the morning to elicit a bowel movement before I eat, which weird, it worked. I didn't expect it would work. So adopting some practices as we kind of go through. I'll talk about things more. But if you live in Arizona or Washington, you want Dr. Beth's contact information, I'm happy to give that to you. She, again, unfortunately only treats patients in Arizona or Washington, but I'm sure there's a functional medicine doctor near you that can help you with what you're going through, or somebody who thinks outside the box, somebody who thinks a little bit differently than the standard medical care system. But other than that, I guess I'm going to wrap this up because I've been yapping for a little while. If you guys have any questions about what I'm doing, what I've got going on, any of the resources I've used in the past that have helped me, I'm happy to share that stuff. Go ahead and reach out, comment, email us, join@kerouacscruising.com. And if you thought this episode was any kind of helpful, entertaining, or enjoyable, please go ahead and hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to see some more of us. I love you guys so much. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Kerouacs Cruising.
We're thrilled to have you with us.
We had a blast recording this episode and hope you enjoyed our adventures as much as we enjoyed sharing them.
For more amazing pictures and stories, visit our website and blog at kerouacscruising.com.
And join the conversation on Facebook at Kerouacs Cruising or email us at join@kerouacscruising.com.
We'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving us a review.
Your support helps us reach more listeners and allows us to continue sharing our travel experiences with you.
It's a generous favor that means the world to us.
Thank you so much for listening to Kerouacs Cruising.
Until next time, happy travels.